Okay, here's a question for you. What happens when an NFL team, they really need a boost on defense, right? And maybe the perfect guy is a veteran player, but he has this like legendary college history against their star quarterbacks old school. Today, we're diving deep into exactly that kind of scenario. It mixes football strategy with, well, a really great sports story.
It is a fascinating mix, isn't it? It goes beyond just the X's and O's. This stuff taps into years of really intense rivalry and what happens when that past kind of bumps into the present-day NFL.
Precisely. So our mission today, we're going to unpack this intriguing ESPN offseason proposal that's been getting some buzz. It suggests the Jacksonville Jaguars should think about signing veteran pass rusher Jadeveon Clowney. We'll look at the strategy, why they might need him, what Clowney, still offers after a dozen years in the league, and crucially, how his unforgettable time in college adds this really wild layer of intrigue to the whole thing. It's not just about filling a roster, Scott.
Yeah, what's really compelling is seeing how the immediate tactical needs of an NFL team might just line up with this deep-seated college history.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, how much of that college identity really sticks with a player professionally, especially when they might end up sharing a locker room with a former big-time rival. Does it even matter anymore?
Okay, so let's get into the proposal itself. The main idea coming from this ESPN piece is basically encouraging the Jags to sign Clowney. And we're talking about a pretty big name here, a 12-year NFL veteran, still on the open market, which is kind of interesting in itself. And he could genuinely fill a key need for Jacksonville as they try to, shore up that defensive front.
That's absolutely right. The Jaguars definitely have a specific spot they're looking at. Edge rusher depth. They need someone behind their main guys, Josh Allen and former #1 pick Trayvon Walker. Now, Allen and Walker, they're a strong starting pair, no doubt, but yeah, there have been questions about the depth behind them. The rotational guys, that's a strategic gap. And Clowney, well, even at this point in his career, he could probably fill it pretty well.
And it's not like he's just limping to the finish line either. He actually had a pretty solid 2024 season, didn't he, with the Panthers? Tallied 5.5 sacks and 9 tackles for loss. Those are respectable numbers for anyone, really, especially a veteran maybe in a rotational role. If the Jags did sign him, this would be, Clowney's 7th NFL team?
Yeah.
That tells you something about his longevity,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the value he keeps bringing.
Yeah, it's worth looking a bit closer at that. Clowney, you remember, was the first overall pick. Came in with massive hype, maybe even unrealistic hype for some. And while he hasn't always put up astronomical sack totals every single year, he's definitely carved out a valuable long NFL career. He's been durable, especially lately, and really good at setting the edge against the run. That strength, his ability to get off blocks, it makes him reliable. And that versatility, that's what Aaron Schatz at ESPN pointed to. He suggested Clowney's maybe a better fit than guys like Emmanuel Ogbah or Miles Cole right now. Schatz really emphasized Clowney's skill against the run and how that could, complement Trayvon Walker's athleticism. On the other side, it's about balance.
Okay, so purely from a football standpoint, you can see the logic. Clowney signing with the Jags, it seems to make a good bit of sense. Veteran guy, coming off a decent year, fills a need. Check, check, check. But here is where our deep dive takes that really fascinating turn. The narrative twist. Jadeveon Clowney, the guy who used to absolutely terrorize Clemson quarterbacks back in college, might now put on the same uniform as the team led by, Clemson legend Trevor Lawrence.
Right. This is where the story just gets so good.
Yeah.
Clowney was a massive star for South Carolina, the game talks. And this was during arguably one of the hottest periods of that Clemson-South Carolina rivalry. It was intense. So for anyone who follows that rivalry, especially Clemson fans, Clowney is a name they definitely haven't forgotten. His college career, his dominance in the SEC, he left a huge mark on that rivalry.
Well, that's putting it mildly. I mean, even outside the rivalry, remember that hit, the one on Michigan's Vincent Smith in the Outback Bowl? That thing went viral, became a national highlight, cemented his reputation as just this, devastating force.
Yeah,
But yeah, for Clemson fans, you're right. They remember him for wrecking their offense. Whether the game was in Columbia or in Death Valley itself, he was a problem.
it's pretty rare, isn't it, to see such a direct college rivalry history potentially play out like this in the pros, where a key figure from one side might join the team led by the guy from the other side. It adds this layer of, human drama to what's otherwise just a personnel move.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, NFL locker rooms are full of guys from rival schools who become teammates, but the intensity of Clemson, South Carolina, and Clowney's iconic status in that specific rivalry, it makes this feel different. Think about it. How often does a player who literally set a school record for sacks against his rival then potentially team up with that rival's biggest star quarterback?
Let's zero in on one game, the one that really sealed his legend against Clemson. The 2012 Palmetto Bowl. You can almost picture it, right? Crisp autumn air, that electric tension you only get with a huge rivalry game. This was the game. This is where Clowney basically became Clemson's nightmare fuel.
Oh, absolutely. That 2012 game, Clowney was just an unstoppable force that day, like a whirlwind. Speed, power, just relentless pressure on the Clemson offense. It was truly remarkable to watch, even for him.
He wasn't just good, he was record-breaking.
Yeah.
He piled up 4.5 sacks, 4.5 in that one game. That's still the single-game record at South Carolina. That performance was huge in the Gamecocks win, 27-17. And it wasn't just about that one win. Clowney's dominance that day became legendary. Fans still talk about it, when they reminisce about the rivalry's big moments, even though, yeah, Clemson kind of dominated the rivalry in the years after that. But that one game, Clowney's performance, it still stands out,
Right.
shows his SEC dominance.
It really was a defining game for him, showcased that elite talent, that ability to just completely disrupt an offense, which, is exactly the kind of thing the Jaguars might be looking for in a rotational depth piece. That blend of past legend and present-day usefulness, that's what makes him such an interesting possibility for Jacksonville right now.
Okay, so let's tie it all together. What does this mean for the Jaguars? We've seen how Jadeveon Clowney, veteran player coming off a solid season with Carolina, he could fill real depth need, especially against the run. He brings talent, experience to an area they could use some help. Makes sense on paper. But yeah, beyond the stats, beyond the strategy, the story is incredible. This potential signing brings this amazing narrative twist, uniting a former Clemson rival with a team now led by a Clemson icon.
Which naturally leads to the big question, right? When you have an athlete with that kind of intense, storied college rivalry background, and they might join a team led by someone like Trevor Lawrence, who was on the other side of that rivalry, how does that old history actually play out in the new professional setting?
Exactly. Does it create some kind of unique dynamic in the locker room? You can almost picture the friendly trash talk, right? Maybe Clowney and Lawrence sharing a laugh about those old battles. Or is it just water under the bridge? Just another chapter in a long NFL career where college stuff gets put aside for the team. What stands out to you about this idea? A player who was once the ultimate rival potentially lining up next to his former foe. It's definitely a fascinating storyline to watch if it unfolds in Jacksonville. Makes you think, doesn't it?